Every news outlet except Fox News seized on Nina Totenberg's story. There's just a problem. It's not true. Nina Totenberg's story is not true. Now, you should know National Public Radio is standing behind Nina Totenberg's report. They refuse to retract the story. But Sonia Sotomayor and Neil Gorsuch came out and said the story is not true. They used the word false. Reporters said, well, this is obfuscating because their statement says Sonia Sotomayor did not ask Neil Gorsuch to mask up. The story says that John Roberts asked him to mask up, so we're standing by the story. This is a non-denial denial. So then John Roberts released a statement and said he did not ask the justices to mask up. And NPR is still standing behind the story. So all three people involved in the story, John Roberts, Sonia Sotomayor, and Neil Gorsuch, all of them say the story is false. And they all three use the word false. And NPR is standing behind the story. I have a theory on what's going on here. Gorsuch must be playing a role influencing the Dobbs case. The Dobbs case is the case that could reverse Roe versus Wade. You really can't possibly believe that progressives at the Supreme Court who are totally in on Roe would not try to sabotage a Supreme Court majority that threw out their precious abortion, would you? I mean, Sonia Sotomayor, Neil Gorsuch, John Roberts, they all deny the story and NPR is standing behind Nina Totenberg. I suspect someone at the Supreme Court told Nina Totenberg this story. And Nina Totenberg trusts her source at the Supreme Court more than she trusts Sonia Sotomayor, Neil Gorsuch, and John Roberts. And so they're standing behind it because of her sources at the court. But what if her sources have an agenda? It's very possible for sources to have an agenda. What would that agenda be? Well, what dominates the press coverage of the Supreme Court? Abortion. What's before the Supreme Court right now? The Dobbs case. What happens if the Supreme Court comes back on that case with the conservatives in the majority? Roe v. Wade dies. So if Neil Gorsuch is either the author of the decision or behind the scenes is exercising influence to steer that decision, you want to begin the character assassination on Neil Gorsuch to try to make him radioactive to the other justices because they know that members of the court, particularly John Roberts, he's revealed this repeatedly, are swayed by press perception. So if you engage relentlessly to make Gorsuch radioactive, you may be able to pull this case down. You may be able to get Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts to distance themselves from Gorsuch and tone down the Dobbs decision. Listen, who helps write these decisions? The law clerks do. By now, they already know. The justices vote the week of hearing the case. So they've already voted on how they've decided on the Dobbs case. Right now, they're shaping opinion and they're trying to build coalitions. So we know it's 5-4, it's 6-3, one way or the other. So now they're writing their decisions. So the law clerks at the court of the left and the right already have the outline of the Dobbs decision. They're just continuing to structure it. They're building persuasive arguments one way or the other. They're not immune to outside conversation on how it should go. So along comes Ruth Marcus, the editorial page editor of the Washington Post, Mark Joseph Stern of Slate, and Nina Totenberg, and all three of them begin separate attacks on Neil Gorsuch, all at the same time, on this mask issue. And it's denied by everyone, and they're all sticking to their story. Why? You've got to ask yourself, why would these reporters do this when all the people involved deny the story? They do it because they're agenda-driven, but it's more than that. Gorsuch has got to be playing a role in getting rid of Roe versus Wade. Gorsuch has got to be on the side of getting rid of it, and he's either got to be the author of it or behind the scenes is building a coalition to take charge of the decision. That could very well be the case. Remember, it seems very likely in a number of cases, including in the case that upheld Obamacare, it seemed very clear there that Anthony Kennedy was the person who was writing that opinion, And the liberals persuaded John Roberts over to their side through a pressure campaign in the media. And John Roberts went their way and wound up writing the decision. And the decision was weird. If you read Anthony Kennedy's decision, it read like he was writing the majority decision. And yet Roberts wound up writing the majority decision, but it was Roberts' opinion and then 4 left-wing justices who agreed with him on the outcome, but not on the way he decided it. Clearly, there was opinion playing there that pulled him over. This is probably happening with the Dobbs case. There probably is a concerted media effort out there from Totenberg, from Ruth Marcus, from Mark Davis Hurd, from the rest of the press corps, targeting Neil Gorsuch because Gorsuch is behind the scenes building a coalition to either take over the Dobbs case to get rid of abortion, or he's writing the Dobbs case and they're trying to pull Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts away from him. They're playing to the crowd. They're playing to pressure. They're trying to apply pressure to the court to politicize Gorsuch, to make him radioactive, so they know if Gorsuch is the one who releases this decision, well, Gorsuch doesn't care about anyone. He wanted Sotomayor to die. He doesn't care about women. You can't possibly side with him. The 3 justices involved in the case of the situation at hand with the mask have all said, use the word false, that it's false. But the media is standing behind the story. You have to ask yourself why. When you ask yourself why, you have to understand that abortion politics is the chief driver of how the press covers the Supreme Court. And if all of these people who care deeply about abortion rights are attacking Neil Gorsuch for a story that's not even true, Neil Gorsuch must be playing a role in shaping the Dobbs decision. Whether he has it, most people say, well, the Chief Justice would either take it himself or give it to Amy Coney Barrett since she's the woman, wouldn't give it to Gorsuch. But what if Gorsuch wrote a concurrence that is now becoming the majority decision? And they're rapidly using a press campaign to try to peel people away from Gorsuch's concurrence that is now shaping up to be the majority opinion, even though he wasn't assigned the case by Chief Justice Roberts. That happens. It's happened before. And that seems to make the most sense to me, why these people would risk their credibility on a story that's been thoroughly rebutted by all the people involved, and they're doubling down on attacking Gorsuch because they know what's coming. Roe v. Wade, unless they're successful in their pressure campaign, is going to go the way of the albatross, or the dodo bird, I guess I should say. Roe v. Wade is about to be reversed by the Supreme Court, and they're doing everything they can to rough up the refs to make that not happen.